Let's talk bounce.
Can you bounce with me? Can you bounce with me?
And OTA incoming changes. How hard is this archetype going to get hit? Because it's got to get hit at this point, right? So last week we got a little high Evo touch. We got Nakia Gambit. I think this week we're going to look at some data here real quick before we get into what we think should and will be touched. But I got to think bounce is there because they typically do these a couple weeks ahead of time. So they're always trailing just a little bit. We're going to look at a couple different websites. Untapped always did a pretty good job at having some tier lists. This is last 30 days. We can certainly do since last patch as well. Bounce, not a high popularity, but a pretty good win rate. But as far as the other popularities, Sarah Surfer is the only one that really touches it. Wow, Control's dropped pretty far as far as popularity. Destroy's still very popular. Negative, surprisingly, still popular. How is Agatha the most popular outside of Phoenix? And that's just because, in my opinion, the new card and the missions. But looking at win rate, you've got Bounce up there at 58. Does anything even come close? We got 56 at high Evo, which just got touched a little bit. Anything else? I'm not really seeing it. Nope. And then even their average cubes, 0.38. Yeah, I mean, obviously there are two up there touching it. Nothing even close there. I switch back to plus 30 days. Now let's bring it down just to this 90 range and out of infinite because, you know, sometimes we like to screw around infinite. They got Sarah Control in there. I think it's just going to stay there until Sarah ever gets touched. I think she's a potential hit at some point at maybe a 5-2, but Bounce is still there. You go over to Marvel Snap Zone, win rates, meta shares, Bounce Kitty, high 13, Sarah Surfer, again, high. We've got high Evo Control still up there, Death still there. One place I like to look last before sort of making my decisions is Snap.fan. I look at just the card stats. I like to look at win percentage. Right now, I have it on just the last 7 days because I want to see what the feeling is after the high Evo changes. And so win percentage, you still got a number of high Evo cards, but the one that popped out to me here was Falcon. I was like, wow, all right, we got Falcon up there. Then Thing, Cyclops, Mysterio, which honestly, spoiler, I don't think they should touch Mysterio. Right now, I think they should leave him alone, but we'll see. And they've got Shocker Beast. That's win percentage in deck. Average cubes, Falcon is literally number one, then Mysterio, then Bishop, then Hitmonkey, Misty Knight, another high Evo type card, the Hood, Beast, Iceman, Angela, whole bunch of bounce type cards. When drawn, Falcon's still up there, Abomination, Misty Knight, Shocker, Thing, a lot of high Evo cards. Sauron's up there, Patriot, Bishop, Hood, Hitmonkey. Average cubes, Falcon, Hitmonkey, Hood, Bishop, Patriot's up there. Silver Surfer's been around a lot. Mysterio, Kitty Pryde. We'll touch on Kitty because that's a card everybody keeps talking about hitting first. When played, Hella's still just dominating here. We're not going to really touch when played on this one. So when I'm thinking about bounce, there are a number of cards that I think they should hit. And now, I don't think they should hit all of these. I think maybe 2 to 3 max, because if you do too much and you hurt the archetype, that's going to feel super bad. I originally have said Bast at 2-2 to make things clunkier. I personally still like that. I know Glenn likes where the card's at, so I'm not necessarily expecting that one. But one I'm absolutely expecting to get hit is Hitmonkey. And I think Hitmonkey is going to go from a 2-0 to a 2-3 and then +1 per card. I think he's one of the bigger culprits. The thing that I don't like about this is that it's a season pass card that some people maybe have been waiting to get. I don't like hitting those. But there's another card in a similar mold that I also don't want to hit for a similar reason. But I think Hitmonkey is a big culprit in bounce, and I think that he should be hit. I think at a 2-3, that way you might be able to avoid Bast a little bit there because you don't get to necessarily benefit from it, and you're only getting +1 per card. The other card that I think is likely going to get hit, but I really don't want it to, Kitty Pryde. I hate this card getting hit because it was a great free to play, if you were in game at that point, gift to the entire community. Everybody got this card for free. So for that reason, I want it to stay as is. It's killmongerable. If you don't draw it early, it cannot necessarily be that good, but it can be insane good if you draw it early. And if you get any Shuri's going, or if you've got Shuri's Lab, it can get stupid. So thinking that they're probably going to change it because what I want here is not going to happen, I think I would nerf this card to a 1-3 and +1. The reason I go to 3 is because I just want to make sure the card still stays decent. And I think that a 1-2 is also a potential here, but I like going on the upper end at this point to make sure that I don't nerf it too hard. The thing I also like about this a little bit is if you draw Kitty late, a 1-3 on a turn 5 or 6 isn't as that bad. Whereas if you pulled Kitty late before, she was basically, she was a dead card. She was just feeding Bishop. Speaking of Bishop, if they do touch him, I think it's just from a 3-1 to a 3-0, but I think given some of these other things, I don't think they should do it. The last one that I could see them touching is Beast. I know they've already adjusted him once before, but I think that they might nerf him given how powerful of a card he is. Given that he's typically giving you a 0, 1, 2, 3, potentially 0 cost cards in a later turn. Sometimes you do it on Angela, so you get a 1 cost Angela and 2 other 0 cost cards. I think that sort of play is really, really strong. So for that reason, Beast, I would change, I think, to a 3-2. I thought about a 3-3, but I think a 3-2 for right now. Might be a little hard, but I think the fact that he decreases cost is a huge, huge gain. And if you think, well, you know what, I'd still play Beast at a 3-2 because of what I get for the cost aspects, then that's the right answer. I also rehash Living Tribunal on this one. I just think, I'm going to say this till they do it, he needs to be 6'9". I just think it's needed. I'm not going to rehash the other ones that I think need to be on there. And when you go back to this and you even go back to the last 30 days, again, the data is not necessarily going to be updated because we've only had a week without the high Evo changes, but you can kind of see still Mysterio's up here, Falcon again up here, but I wouldn't touch that. Bishop, Hitmonkey. What else in this top list would you touch? I don't think I'd really want to hit anything here. So let's look at the bottom of this. Again, not anything that I'm seeing that I'd want to touch except for what I've already mentioned in Living Tribunal. I think that he just needs to be a 6'9". He's not strong enough. I mean, it's sort of sad that Magic's down here. I think maybe if I was to touch Magic that you can't change Limbo, but that's just, I don't like that. So maybe a 5-4 for Magic. Psylocke, maybe a 2-2. I don't know. I'm just throwing things out here. I'm not seeing anything that makes a lot of sense. Now, Kang, I do think needs to be hit. I don't know what I'd do with him though. Now, this is probably where I'll end the video, is with a Kang. Let's start. How would you change this card? What makes this card not too OP? One thing I thought about is it works the same way that it works now, but it guarantees you to draw a card from your deck. That feels pretty good. It helps you thin out your deck a little bit. I feel like people would like that, and it would feel a little bit better. I don't like changing the snap aspect of it all because I just think that that's part of the aspect that you want with Kang, is that bluff. Without that bluff, like, ugh, really? I like the thought of potentially pulling a random card instead. So Kang goes, then you just get a random card. I mean, maybe that feels not as strong as just a straight up deck thinner. That's a possibility. There was talk at maybe leaving it in a spot, but then again, is that really going to be good? How much power would you give it? Maybe it's the half of the power of the next card you play. But is that too strong? So tell me in the comments below how you would change Kang. I think this is absolutely a patch adjustment, but I want to start talking about this because I think it's something that needs to be adjusted with Kang. He's clearly the worst big bad. Nobody likes him. The numbers here justify it. I mean, 49% win percentage, average cubes 0.24. This is towards the bottom. You know what I mean? This is just, and then let's go to average cubes from worst to best. And then you get Kang. Yeah, in that crystal cloak range, which isn't all that great. So let me know what you think there. What else would you change from these top tier decks that you think need to be adjusted? I will say, generally speaking, I like what they've been doing in these OTA and patch adjustments. I think it does make the meta feel a little fresh and change somewhat, where you can pick a number of cards, and it's great, I will say, for content creators, because we can go out there and be like, oh, let's do this deck, let's play with 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 this deck. And you get to see a ton of different decks out there, and people have a lot of variety to choose from, and it gives into people's play styles, which might be a little bit different. So hopefully Second Dinner keeps leaning into that. I believe these sort of incoming changes would be very beneficial. I think Bounce has to get hit. It's clearly one of the best in game. I'd love to hear from any of those Bounce players that they think is the best thing to get hit. I know a lot of people have been talking about don't touch Beast, do touch Bast, and then other people say do touch Beast but don't touch Bast, or do touch Bast. And it's just kind of like, well, what is it going to be? What are we going to see? Glenn and the team are going to answer it soon enough. So that's all we got for this video. If you found it helpful at all, or you just want to help support the channel, please consider hammering down that like button. And until next time, I hope you have a wonderful day.